Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson. We're continuing our study of the Gospel of Matthew, and we're in chapter 7, and I'm going to be reading verses 7 through 12. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it shall be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it shall be opened. Or what man is there among you, when his son shall ask him for a loaf, will give him a stone? Or if he shall ask for a fish, he will not give him a snake, will he? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father, who is in heaven, give what is good to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do that for them. This is the law and the prophets. So much here as well. We said this larger passage is about discernment. It's about judgment. It's about sincerity. And we have all that about free will as well, making choices. We have all of that here. Before he talks about finding the right gate, he says, ask, seek, and knock. God gives us what we need. Yes, we're humans. Yes, we're evil. But we know how to give good gifts to our children. Our parental impulses were put there by God. We have them, and they're imperfect. God has them perfectly. We are God's children. In fact, for his listeners, perhaps the most radical thing he says in the entire Sermon on the Mount are the words, your Father. Because that was not the way they thought of God or addressed God. He was their God, and they collectively were his people. But to think of an individual relationship with God as our own parent, God himself describes himself in that way in the prophets at times, places like Hebrews chapter 11. David certainly describes God in a variety of ways, not only as our Father, but he uses even maternal images to describe God. So David introduces the whole notion, the whole ethos of God as parenting us and having a relationship with God as a parent-child relationship. But Jesus comes right out and says it. God takes care of you. There's no reason for you not to make good choices. There's no reason for you to be merciless to each other because God has profusely provided for you. Since that is true, therefore, you have to do for others what you would have them do for you. You have to put others first. You have to consider them equally as you consider yourself. You have to take the initiative to act. The way Jesus phrased the golden rule is just, genius the way he phrased it. Because Socrates and Confucius, both 3 and 4 centuries before Jesus, 4 and 5 centuries, I should say, before Jesus, said the very same thing, but in a negative way. Don't do to people what you don't want them to do to you. And to keep that rule, that command, what I have to do is not bother you, is to leave you alone. And so I can sequester myself and be obedient to that command, that directive, but I can't if I'm going to be faithful to what Jesus has said. Jesus says, do. I can't be obedient to that command if I have not connected with you, if I don't know you, if I haven't thought about you, if I haven't considered you, if I am not willing to do what's best for you. And so it makes involvement in each other's life and well-being necessary. And when we do that, we keep the second of the great commands, which Jesus says is the law of the prophets. And he says that about the golden rule as well. The golden rule really is just another way of saying what the second of the 2 great commands is, to love your neighbor as yourself. All the other 613 laws that govern human contact are really just expressions of this one singular principle. Okay? We'll pick up with verse 13 next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.